Good afternoon, traders and investors. It's Will here. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys had a great day. Now, what a spicy day today, guys. I mean, we had the gap down open on the SPY, followed by hours and hours and hours of bullish reversal, and then a dump, 2 o'clock dump right into power hour. And literally at the very end of the day, right? Like the last 10 minutes they decided to pull something out of their hats and reverse this back to the upside, guys. So very, very, very volatile day on the whole. But as you can see on the daily time frame on SPY, I mean, we're still kind of holding above this kind of support line here, still grinding the 12 EMA to the upside. But guys, it is looking, you know, it is looking as if we should be approaching with caution at this point, right? So we have a series while we're within the range here. As you guys can see, we're making higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. And now we've now reversed those. We're starting to reverse those to the downside with the patterns, right? We're now setting patterns of lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower lows, right? So you have to kind of be cautious leading into this type of trading, even if we are holding relatively well on the daily time frame. You kind of have to wonder if the big earnings next week may just send us into our weekly consolidation that we've now been talking about for pretty much a week at this point, right? I really wouldn't be surprised if the next couple of weeks we do end up in some weekly consolidation. So the theme of today's video is going to be, I'm still bullish, but we're now cautiously bullish. I'm really not going to go heavy on the position sizes on the options market next week, guys, because, when we start getting up here, it starts getting to be a bit, you got the MACD crossing here on the daily as well. You got to really start to be careful about taking positions up here, and especially writing options on things, knowing that we can have maybe one potential 2 weeks of drop. I'm not saying that they have to drop, a ton, but it's very, very possible that we do get some nice little drops here in the market. So SPY's still holding, but like I said, guys, you really got to keep an eye on these lower time frames here. If we keep setting lower lows here and we start to dig into these levels, it's going to be really tough to recover from, especially if we get some bad earnings. Especially next week, we have Amazon, right? And look at these patterns. I just want to show the patterns to you guys, right? So we have Amazon next Thursday, right? Look at this daily candle. I mean, it's still a bullish uptrend, but we're not really looking strong. We're kind of looking a bit weak here, guys, on Amazon, right? They didn't have that great of a day today compared to yesterday. As you see, we keep getting rejected from these levels. Bulls not able to close above. Meta, the exact same thing, right? Earnings next Wednesday. Look at the top of this chart now, guys. We've kind of grinded this 12 EMA now for the past 2 months. And this is the first time that we've really had 2 days that we've now closed pretty much under it. Bearish reversal doji candle on the day today. So not looking the greatest, especially if we close the weekly candle like this, guys. Still a ton of space, right? Our higher low is right down here. Would not be opposed to seeing some move into here, into the support level for Meta for some further downside continuation. And the other one I believe next week is Microsoft. Apple's the week after. Microsoft as well, right? As you can see, struggling to break these levels, guys. We've been talking about this in the last couple of videos. Still very healthy. Higher lows are here. Would not be opposed to seeing a move in that. Like it would not look weird to me. It would not look strange if we do get that daily consolidation. But I mean, from expecting weekly consolidation to being fearful, it's a very big difference, right? That's why I said cautiously optimistic. We're expecting the weekly consolidation. It's due at this point. We've been trying to bear flag it out, but as we can see, the bears are kind of running out of momentum at this point. They've tried to smash through these resistances on the index as well. We've tried to smash through. It's just not happening. So you have to kind of wonder if bulls have kind of exhausted their momentum at this point, and if they potentially have to come down a little bit before gaining a bit more momentum to finally crack it, maybe in the next, after the big tech reports earnings. On the NASDAQ now. NASDAQ, same problem, right? Today we had a big gap down open this morning, which was kind of bought up almost immediately, which was fun to see. Largely impacted by Tesla today, guys. And then end of day sell-off as well. Early afternoon, late afternoon sell-off. And then this whole recapture of the lows here really happened in the last 10 minutes of trading. I was watching this live and I couldn't believe the sheer amount of buy orders that were coming in. This just looks like some algorithmic selling. No news at all whatsoever. Just selling on the bid all afternoon, pretty much for the good part of the last 2 hours, and then instantly reversed in the end of the day. So it's kind of getting cautious as well. We see the series of lower highs here, some lower lows being put in. Obviously, we're still trapped within this kind of very tight range up here, guys, but you got to be careful. When things get tight like this, you know that we're eventually going to break this range to one side or the other. And in my opinion, the odds kind of favor the bear break at this point, because bulls have, like I was saying on SPY, we've kind of, you have to figure, right? If the bulls keep trying to push and keep getting rejected, you know, the bears are selling from the same level, but the bulls will get tired eventually of trying to push through this level and not make it. And that may push us into our weekly consolidation on the NASDAQ as well, down to the 12,500 range here on the NASDAQ futures, right into this support, previous resistance area, which is now support, right in the moving averages. Would not be opposed to being seen that on the NASDAQ as well. And now taking a look into the Russell, same problem, right? For the past couple weeks, we were not able to get above this level here, just not able to do it. And even today, right? Today wasn't a very good day, still kind of holding this very tight range, but it's good because that may offer us some more opportunities, as I've been talking about, to write some puts into these lower areas of this range, guys. This is the range I'm targeting. So next week may not be doing some company specific things. I may be more looking to do indexes, because certain companies, you know, especially companies that have ran a lot, if let's say Microsoft, Meta, and Amazon come out with some lackluster earnings, well, you may get some downside, and they're so big that they may drag the rest of the indexes down and may contribute to some negative sentiment on the indexes. So I'm going to be looking out for some indexes next week. More specifically, we're going to look at XLF, right? So we already went over QQQ. QQQ has the possibility to roll over in a weekly consolidation here. Looking at financials. Financials have been pushing up healthy now for a better part of the last 4 or 5 weeks, ever since the end of the banking crisis. But as we can see, guys, we're kind of, you know, we're approaching an area here where the market could, you know, it could continue grinding higher. Our 200 EMA is right above here, right there. So if we can continue to see some rotation, if technology does take a breather, you know, financials are set up well to continue that move, but we are working in to this resistance zone here, right? If I put a nice little line here, you guys can see, right? That's kind of an ugly line, but just saying previous support is now resistance. So that's why we're kind of rejecting at these areas on the daily time frame. The move is kind of getting a bit extended. You can see that on the 4 hours, right? It's having a lot of difficulty in this area here. And as you can see, RSI is starting to curl over. 4-hour MACD is already rolling over a bit. So even financials, guys, you know, they may have to take a tiny leg down in order to set a higher low and come back up on the upside here. So that's financials, still looking healthy. We still have we've created a lot of space, guys, from this down move. We've created a lot of space, right? To where anything above this guy here, anything above 30 essentially, will be the weekly higher low. So still charts looking healthy, a lot of space for that weekly higher low to form. And if we can form it, something like this, and then do this, we'll now confirm a weekly uptrend again. So just be on the lookout for that, guys. The next 2 weeks are really key for these markets. Really, really key. Healthcare, a bit of the same thing, right? Healthcare, ever since this down move, we've put in a really nice 5-week rally. Created a lot of space above this guy for if we do get weekly consolidation, it creates a lot of space to make a higher low and potentially form a new weekly confirmed uptrend. I mean, you can argue that we're still, you know, we're pretty much in a range, right? But we never really lost the weekly. So if we want to see continuation for the most part, that's what has to happen here. And, you know, on the daily, as you can see, guys, it hasn't been too good with names like Johnson & Johnson after earnings coming down a bit. Also, they had the lawsuit news today, which took them out a bit. They resolved the lawsuit. UNH is another one of the heavy weights in healthcare. So as you can see, guys, like these names have been coming down a bit, which contributes to the overall index going down. So, you know, daily still sitting on this 12 EMA here. But as we can see, guys, the daily MACD, daily RSI is coming down a little bit. So like I said on the other indexes, guys, it really wouldn't surprise me if most of our major sectors do curl over and we start to potentially see some weekly consolidation. Obviously, as a bull, I don't really want to see that, but since I'm doing options, that's kind of what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for these dips to be able to write positions at very, very juicy levels. A couple of companies that I'm looking out for. Actually, let's go through the rundown here. So let's start off with Tesla. Tesla, guys, oof, guys. What an ugly day on Tesla. Almost down 10%. It was down over 10% at one point if it wasn't for that end of day rally here. So as you can see, guys, this yellow line represents our previous daily low, which was set on March 13th, right? So this whole support area, unfortunately, now has been broken. Not by a lot, I agree, by about $3, but it's still a break. So the next area we'll be targeting down here is this gap fill area between the 145 to roughly 155 area. Obviously, if you're a bull on Tesla, you don't want to see that happen. There's other stocks that have kind of like Nvidia, right? Nvidia set a couple big gaps during the time that it's rallied. We also have a tiny one down here, right? But as you can see, it came down a bit and never filled it. So I'm not saying that all gaps need to be filled, but you guys know the rule. 90% of gaps do end up filling. And this one is closer than not, right? So it remains to be seen if the bulls can put in some good work tomorrow to kind of recapture some of this move, kind of like Netflix did, right? Netflix with the big gap down, they almost pretty much filled the gap over the course of the day today and then gave some back. Another gap fill move that we tried to see today was American Express. American Express with a big gap down this morning. You can see it better on the hourly. Well, actually, you can't because I show after hours. But anyways, we gapped down around here on the open, 157, 158, moved down a little bit more, and then we recaptured the entire dip today. So I was able to capture this move, writing some puts in the 157 area for the 155s, and pretty much 2 hours later, I was able to get out of that position completely worthless. So earnings plays are really decent to play, but wait for them to happen. Wait for them to happen. That's really key. You really don't want to be playing earnings before. I took a gamble on Tesla this time around with the 162.50s and the 170s as well. And now we're kind of underwater on the 170s. We're going to be writing some calls against them and pretty much be able to kind of neutralize our position here if it stays above 160. And for the 162.50s, still holding above. Not sure if we'll be assigned, but we may have to write some calls early because I really don't want to take the downside all the way here. May have to cover up with some lower calls, some in-the-money calls, just in case we do move down further. And I'm kind of expecting it at this point. If the weekly candle closes like this is a very, very, very bearish weekly candle close, right? As you can see, we could still move up after that. Like we've seen a weak bear candle close like here, but as you can see, it did push down lower before closing down higher. So we may, if this candle closes like this, we may come down to this area next week and then provide some relief to the upside. However, I do want to protect against that downside. Don't want to give back any profits, guys. Even if I can break even on this position through the next week, that's what I'll be looking for, guys. For the past several months now on Tesla, I've been generating really, really good premium. So overall premium on Tesla as a whole is extremely, extremely positive. So I don't mind breaking even on this one, as a matter of fact. Looking on the major tech names, we kind of did the rundown earlier a few minutes ago when I went through earnings, but Apple as well, struggling with the tops here, guys. And don't forget, they have earnings in 2 weeks, and they already gave us a heads up on their PC sales, right? Down 40% from what they were. So that's, you don't want to see that. So we can kind of expect Apple, after such an extended bull move, now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weekly green candles in a row, right? We've been riding the higher end of this RSI range for a while, but as you can see, guys, momentum is kind of slowing down here to the upside. Kind of slowing down. 4-hour MACD kind of tapering off a little bit here too. We are still in a daily bull trend, weekly bull trend, guys. But weekly consolidation of this area, this kind of looks like the NASDAQ, would not be opposed. So Apple, I'm looking for Apple in the mid 150s area to be writing some options on, but we're definitely going to be waiting for earnings on that. I'm not touching Apple up here. Congratulations if you hold Apple long-term shares though. Amazon, bit of the same concept, right? We're kind of struggling with this resistance area, this yellow line. Big previous support, which has now been acting as resistance for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touches almost at this point, guys. So we're kind of really struggling with that. Really want to see what happens with earnings. And Amazon, to be honest with you, I'm really not expecting that much in terms of bullish earnings for Amazon, right? Because we do have the consumer slowdown because of the recession year. AWS cloud services, I'm not too sure how they're going to perform. We're really going to have to wait and see what happens with Amazon. My target, obviously, within this green box, if we come down to the lower 90s area, would not be opposed to writing puts, slightly below this this previous support area, because we are still in a weekly confirmed uptrend, pretty much, right? We may be double topping at this area, but if anything, it gives us a more tightening range. But I want to be writing towards the bottom of this range. Moving on to Google. Google kind of in the same position, guys, right? So we've been having a really, really, really nice upswing. But now, as you can see, guys, Google, although they have a good day today, they're unable to push above these resistance areas. Same situation as the other big tech names, right? Pending earnings. So we want to see Google next week. What's going to happen with earnings? That's going to either allow us to potentially break this range or allow us to, start our weekly consolidation move potentially into my green optimal box. I'm also going to be looking for Google in the mid 90s area to be writing some options for on the daily time frame. You can see that right here. I want to be targeting this kind of area right here, right? Obviously, if we lose this, we're going to lose the most of the part of the daily uptrend. However, this, in my opinion, is still a very bullish weekly uptrend. And if we do come down to into the 90s area, we might get a further tightening range, something like that. But for me, that's a really optimal area for writing puts, especially because of the valuation, guys. Amazing, amazing company. I really like the valuation down here. Would not be opposed to be assigned some stock into, the mid area of this whole range, pretty much the middle, right? Because then you kind of, the stops kind of have to go below here, which is about 90. You can even average in at that point if ever you're stuck. So I will be looking at Google, and potentially if Google does pull back with a few big candles off of earnings down into here, that's when we're going to be able to write puts at the 92, 90 area. So I'm looking for it to come down to this range so that I can be writing puts at the lower end of the range, just to clarify. Microsoft, I think we already did Microsoft, but yeah, same concept right there on Microsoft, kind of getting a bit toppish here, really a bit toppish, and would not be opposed, guys, to seeing our weekly consolidation of the 270 area. If we do potentially get some weekly consolidation of the 270 area, I'm going to be looking for writing some puts in the 260s. 260s to 270s range is where I would start getting quite interested in Microsoft, looking for a bounce off of weekly potential support area in the mid 265s. So last one that I'll be going over, NVIDIA, ooh boy. Weekly candle closes like this, guys. It's kind of looking interesting for a short, right? Unable to beat these resistances up here in the mid 280s area. So this could be some decent areas to be writing some call credit spreads up here. Or if you want to start a little tiny short position, something like 20, 25 shares. I wouldn't go for the full 100 though, depending on your buying power, obviously, right? So it's all about account size for sure. But I wouldn't, I'm not going to be going too heavy on a short here. But it is starting to look interesting. NVIDIA did fill this little gap here today. As you can see, engulfing bearish candle, engulfed our previous bull move. And now is the time where you kind of have to say, okay, we've kind of been struggling up here at this range here now for a while. We're not in the full uptrend anymore. We're kind of at the higher end of a range. As you can see, our weekly RSI is still overbought. Our daily RSI now is starting to curl down. The 4 hours already pointing down, right? 4 hour here, about to roll over on the MACD down here. So it could be a position whereby you put stops right above this high here. And, now is the time where I'm starting to see, in the previous videos, I was saying it wasn't ready yet. Now it's starting to kind of look like it's ready. Obviously, you'd probably want to see this and then maybe a retest of this area. And if it does retest that area, let's say, then you can enter here. That would be if you're a patient bear would do this, right? And then you take the trade here, you set the stops above there, and that's good. But if you kind of want to go for the greedy short, if I'm going for the greedy short, I would be looking for entries right around here on NVIDIA pretty much. Could be looking for a pullback. The entire semiconductors sector is kind of looking it looks like it kind of wants to roll over, right? Obviously, we're still weekly bullish, daily still caught in a range, but it's looking like it's running out of juice. As you can see, the MACD here kind of struggling here to push higher. The RSI did close below the average of the RSI, so we are kind of curling over here. But I mean, hey guys, I mean, we still have so much space on the higher time frames here, which is why when I'm looking at semiconductor stocks, like I've been saying, guys, you know, AMD still has a lot of space. We're barely holding this channel right here. If we lose this channel, further support areas down in the mid 80s, 82 to 85 range, right where the moving averages are, right? ON Semiconductors, which is one of my favorites for to be looking at options for, as you can see, right? This bullish triangle broke it to the downside today. But we are still, if we just delete this right here, right? This is the short-term pattern. If we look at the weekly time frame, we do still have a lot of weekly support here above 70. So we can still just, you know, come around this range like that and further off consolidate. But my ideal area to be writing options in is in this lower $70 range. I'm not touching it though this week yet. I really want to see tomorrow play out. I want to see next Monday, how we open next Monday. And I'm not sure if I'm going to play this next week as I have been playing aggressively the past 2 weeks because of the amount of tech earnings that we do have next week, guys. You really got to be cautious, right? TSM with some earnings today as well in semiconductors. As you can see, they popped up, but gave back a very large portion of the move, which just goes to show you that it's just overall weakness in the markets now. The bulls may be getting tired. There's a gap down here to fill, you know, somewhere between the 81 area. So obviously we do have very, very strong support. But if we start to break down here, the next area of support becomes this 83 level, and that's where I may be looking as well to be writing some options because this is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful company. But it all remains to be seen on the big tech's earnings. I'm going to be very patient. The other play that I was talking to you about was PayPal. PayPal in the 72 to 70 area for writing some puts. But even though we've been in this tight range here for a better part of the 2 months, you know, if there wasn't any big tech earnings next week, I would say, okay, no problem. I'd be looking for potentially the 70 puts all day to be writing. Wouldn't mind being assigned because then you could probably get a bounce. But if our main tech names drag down the indices next week, all of these plays, guys, all of these tech plays are going to struggle. They don't move independently unless they have stock specific news. If the index is down because our big tech names are down and investor sentiment gets dragged down as well, and all companies are revising guidance to the downside and are saying negative things about consumption patterns and consumer spending patterns, that's what you have to look out, guys. I mean, these are a payment processor, right? If consumers aren't spending money as much as they are, it stands to argue that less payment processing will be done by PayPal. So we got to be really careful of that. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is crypto, okay? We really have to be very, very, very careful with what Bitcoin is doing. So I was looking for the breakout retest. As you guys saw in the previous 2 videos, I did take a trade off of it in the last couple of days. There was a trade to be had off of the 4-hour first oversold time that we got on the RSI here, right? It was, where was it? It was right here, right? Right here was my trade. We wrote it up pretty much to this resistance area. Took partial profits here, set the stop under. It came back. Then I stayed in the trade and all the way back down here got stopped out on pretty much the remaining 30% of my position. So both of them got stopped out here, which is still net profit from the trade area that I took it. And now we've rolled over. But it's not about looking at the level specifically like, oh, if it comes here, I'm buying. No. How does it come into this level? Let me show you what I'm talking about. Look at Ethereum. When Ethereum broke this massive range here, we broke out hard and then slowly came down into this level, right? You see how slow and gentle that was coming down to this level? When it's slow and gentle like that, I have no problem taking a location trade, being like, okay, we're coming into the top of this, into this support now. I have no problem looking at the lower time frames, looking for oversold, and then taking along based off of that. And that's exactly what I did, as a matter of fact. But Bitcoin, look at the difference. Breakout, did we come in soft? No. We came in very, very, very aggressively to this area. Very aggressively, right? So 4 hour remains oversold, started being oversold here, but still have not gotten a proper bounce. We're now below the 200 4-hour moving average. Kind of don't want to see that. We're now below. These are, keep in mind, guys, these are the first closes, the first official closes, big closes, below our daily 12 EMA ever since the start of this move in March. You have to take note of that, right? We're now also below the 26. So take note of that. We're below the moving averages. We've come really hard into this area. I understand that it's a big area of consolidation and that previous resistance is now support. But guys, the support is up here, right? We're kind of getting, you can say it's a channel. Yes, it is a channel, but we're coming down very, very, very aggressively into it. So you have to be cautious. Don't just say it's a location, so I'm going to take the trade. Watch how does it do it. And this kind of makes me nervous in terms of, look at the weekly candle. It's a weekly engulfing candle. If we close the week like this on Sunday, guys, you don't want to see the weekly candle engulf the entire previous breakout move. That just leads me to believe that potentially it may follow the indexes. If earnings are poor and if QQQ and SPY come down, it leads me to believe Bitcoin may be in for some weekly consolidation down to the 26, 25 area again. I hate to say it. I don't want to say those numbers out loud because obviously everybody just, myself included, I have some long-term Bitcoin that I'm not selling. I would love for it to push higher, but we have to look, guys, one step at a time, right? This is now, we're trying to reverse monthly time frames at this point. These things take time. You can see we are still overall bullish, but if we come down here and have to push up higher, or if the weekly comes down as well and push up higher, right? It's no biggie. It's no biggie. Cautiously optimistic. I said, theme of the video, right? Theme of the video. So just watch out for crypto. If Bitcoin breaks, well, you can't expect Ethereum to hold either. Ethereum's going to come down into its weekly consolidation areas, and we will reevaluate from there, guys. But I did not like how Bitcoin came into this level super, super hard. Yes, it was because of some bad news yesterday, but look at the continuation today. Another big red day, right? That's almost, 8% to the downside in 2 days. We haven't had 2 big red days like that since the banking crisis, pretty much, right? So you have to take note of these things. It has to light up, it has to be like an anomaly, being like, ooh, this one's special. This time is different. It's not just a normal red candle. Like, we're coming into it hard. Bears want this time. Lastly, going over our plays, Bill.com, completely worthless. Hope you guys are out of the contract, 72s and 73s. You should have been able to close them out either yesterday or today as well. Congratulations on those plays. May be looking for them next week, but I'll be cautious on them. I'll be looking absolutely at 69, 68 if we can get some good premium. Maybe if we have a red day tomorrow or on Monday, maybe looking to the low end of there. Still like the stock, but if the indexes as a whole get dragged down, I sound like a broken record, this will not be immune, and this one moves fast. Like, if QQQ is down 1%, expect to see minus 3-4% days on this one. So be very, very, very careful. Congratulations on the profits if you took the trades. Schwab, once again, yesterday we were already worthless, so no real need to talk about this one. If people were still in the trade today, you also could have closed the 49s. They would have still been worthless, right? But even our financial sector, right, starting to kind of curl down. We might need to, get some accumulation going before setting the daily uptrend once more. So just keep an eye out for that. Schwab, still an extremely, extremely attractive stock at these levels. But at this point, I will be looking next week, because financials are kind of on the side. I'll be looking once again for the 49 area, 50 area puts if they're available, but going to be very, very, very cautious. I may not even go for one bank. I may even go for XLF. If it consolidates further enough, I may just do XLF instead of going stock specific. It remains to be seen. And Tesla, obviously, we've already went over it. 162.50s are still in play for tomorrow. We'll see how it closes. The 170s, I'll tell you guys what I did, right? Like I said, we were doing, we might take a break-even trade or a tiny loss on this trade. I may even be looking to do the 160s, potentially the 155 calls for next week, just juice the premium up. I want to minimize this loss as small as possible. Still very, very interested in the stock, but we're not looking to lose any money. We're not looking to let it run. We're not looking to write. Let's say I get assigned, I'm obviously going to get assigned the 170s, but you don't want to be writing the 170s if you know the downside's down here. You may want to cover it up, go in the money, give yourself some premium. It kind of replicates having a put. So that way, if it does drop, well, you're not really losing money. And then when it bottoms out, you can take the covered call off, right? You'll have captured all of that premium to the downside. And then you can maybe let the position run back up to the break even a little bit, which at that point should be even in the 150s. So hope you guys had a good day. Don't get too nervous. Don't get too stressed out about things. We've been expecting weekly consolidation. If you do see some red next week and you see some negative headlines on all the big tech names, don't worry. We're still in for weekly consolidation as long, we have so much space, guys. I don't get nervous until we start going down to here, right? If you want my opinion, I don't start to get nervous and start to question the validity of this bullish continuation on the weekly uptrend until we really get down here, and there's just so much space to do it. So hope you all had a great day. Hope you guys have a great day tomorrow, and I'll see you after tomorrow, after the close. I always do the Friday close. If you guys like the video, consider liking, consider subscribing. I love you all. Take care. See you tomorrow. Peace.